I'm removing and replacing a radiator for a Ford Taurus. I bought a used one at the junkyard for $41, a lot cheaper than anything I could find brand new. And this is an unusual arrangement. With the Ford Taurus, the radiator has to come out the bottom. So the first step is removing the fans. I've already done that. There are two fans, each one just has one bolt. They're at the top, they're very obvious. Take out the bolt, there's the electrical connection, and there's a little hole here so that you can get access to the clip to remove the connection. Slides right out. So both of those out. These are the connections for the fans. You can just tuck them away. This fuse box unsnaps really easily. There are two little clips right here, just a small screwdriver pops right out. I also removed the battery. I would have normally removed the battery holder as well, but there's one bolt down here that's seized up. I couldn't get this bolt out, so I'm going to have to leave this in. It's not worth going through the trouble of forcing that bolt out. It's going to work around this. The reason that I needed to take it out was just to get easier access to this hose clamp, and with a long pair of channel locks it's possible to do it, and you can see I got it off already. So the next step is to remove the top radiator line. There are two oil lines that go into the radiator, and the top one requires this special tool to get it off. This is cut. This is the one from the junkyard. They didn't use the special tool, they used cutter, but to get it out of the radiator I had to use this, and it's the same thing that'll be necessary on the car, and just clip this onto the pipe, and then the pipe pulls out. You kind of have to shove it in, and it releases what's catching this lip, and then the pipe just pulls right out. Okay, there it is. Now I'm going to push it in. Now that it's in, I can pull the pipe out. Should come right out. That's a 3/8 hose release tool. Okay, so much for coming right out. I'm going to have to reset it there. Okay, let's try again. It didn't come out easily the first pull. Okay, so it's not cooperating. I'm going to use this pry bar to ever so slightly help it a little bit. Okay, now it's out. Additionally, there's a little safety clip that's like this. This one came off the junkyard one. And there's just two little clips here with a screwdriver. You can get this loose, slide it up the pipe. This is the overflow line to the reservoir. This also needs to come off. Now, there are some bolts attaching the condenser. If you look in that hole, and there's another hole on the other side, connecting the condenser to the radiator, and then through the grill down in here there are some other bolts, and I think there are two on each side. Those all need to come out in order for the radiator to slide out the bottom. The next step for me is to take off the plastic cover that's under the bumper. There are just a bunch of little bolts all around it. I think 10 millimeter, 8 millimeter, and 7 millimeter. And it's a lot of bolts. But if you get all those off, there's clean and easy access to the bottom of the radiator. There's a bracket that needs to be removed, covering and protecting the lower radiator hose. It's really obvious how to remove that. 4 8 millimeter bolt heads, and then unclamp the radiator hose clamp, remove the hose, and after those bolts for the condenser are removed, then there are 2 more bolts, each one holding a bracket on either side. Remove those and the radiator slides out through the bottom. To drain the radiator, on the driver's side of the radiator at the bottom there is a white plastic screw, and if you just loosen it a little bit, the coolant will start to flow out and you can drain the radiator. Take the reservoir cap off, it'll flow faster, and that makes it a lot easier to do all this without making a big mess. Since the radiator has to come out the bottom, the car has to be jacked up high enough so that the radiator will clear the underneath of the car. Okay, now I'm going to disconnect the top AC condenser bolts. There's one on each side. Same thing on the other side. There's the other one. Just trying to work this out. This is the radiator. There it is. You can see where the AC condenser attaches on this side, and it's just like that on the other side. This is the new used radiator. I'm just sliding it into position. Kind of lifting up the condenser to get on the right side of it here. Okay, now up. I finished putting in the radiator and the condenser. First the radiator, wiggling it and jiggling it between the slot in the frame and the dangling condenser. Bolt it into place, then slide the condenser up into place, loosely put the 2 top bolts in, then down to the bottom, put the rest of the bolts in, line everything up loosely. Once all the bolts are in, then tighten it up. That's where we are. Everything's tight, the hoses are back on, and now I just need to put in the fans, and the way they go in, they're 2 pegs. They slide down into plastic receptacles and 1 bolt through the top, and that's the same with both fans. Then hook up the electrical connections. Reaching around the bottom and feeling to make sure the pegs go in the hole properly. Okay. Got one in. putting the coolant back in. I'm warming up the car just to see if the thermostat opens, make sure there aren't any leaks. This line will get hot once the thermostat opens. It's starting to get pretty warm at this point, but it'll be hot once it opens. The temperature is currently 183, so let's see where it opens. Okay, now it's at 190. I can feel a lot of heat coming into this hose, so 192, 194, the thermostat's now opening. Temperature should drop once it opens up. Okay, you can see it dropping a little bit. Next thing I'll check will be the fans, make sure they come on. The fans came on at 208, everything looks good.